those reactions. But I'm just saying, but the truth is, you don't have nearly the emotional response, positive or otherwise, that to the assassination of President Lincoln, because to us living everyday lives, right? President Lincoln's assassination is historically relevant. It's an important part of our story, but it's not personally relevant. I mean, historically, it set in motion a lot of things. I mean, the Secret Service and, the Secret Service, like the security detail and the whole idea of personal security and making sure that the president and important heads of state kind of are protected when they travel. And it put a lot of things into motion that we didn't have previously, right? So historically, it's relevant because we see today the effects of something that happened 150-something years ago. But we don't necessarily see it being personally relevant, right? I mean, for the most part, most of you probably gotten through the whole week this last week without thinking about the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, unless you went through like a movie or you went through something and you're like, oh, I saw that thing and it reminded me of it. But most of us have gone through the whole week without really thinking about it, because for us, the relevance of it is limited to history. For the most part, we don't really think about it day to day. It isn't really even a part of our daily observance of our freedoms or any of those things. It's just information to us. And the problem is that we've shifted, right? I mean, if it happened 3 days ago, it would be information that's transformational to us. But somewhere along the line, it went from information that's transformational to information that shifted to apathy at some point. It's information we have, but it's not relevant, and we kind of just shrug it off. The problem isn't so much just that we think of President Lincoln's assassination that way, or that we think of some head of state falling, or there's some security issue, or whatever it is that would shift to apathy. The problem is when it really is a part of our everyday vital worship experience, especially around Christmas. When we've shifted the truth of the birth of Jesus from historically relevant, and maybe even familially relevant, right? It's relevant to your family's, events that happen over the next few weeks. Like at some point in the next few weeks, you're going to get together with family that you like and don't like, and you're going to get around the thing, and everybody's got that weird uncle, that says things, or maybe it's your dad. We're not recording this, are we? Okay. But we get these people around the thing, and you don't ever know what they're going to say. And, we get through these things. We got all that stuff. So for you, the birth of Jesus is relevant to your family's events. And it's historically relevant. I mean, it's a big deal. It changed literally the way we keep time and the date and all that kind of stuff changes. AD, BC, all that kind of stuff changes. So it's historically relevant. It's relevant to our families. It's relevant to our religious experience. I mean, certainly, right? Come to church and you expect to do some Christmas songs, right? Now, if you're first time at Journey Church and you're going, hey, that was not Christmas songs like I grew up with Christmas songs. I know. It's great, isn't it? It's great to have Christmas unglued and just know that. Anyways, we won't get off on that stuff, but man, is it good. So it's relevant to us historically. It's relevant to our families. It's relevant to our religious experiences, or at least our religious expression anyhow. But it's not sometimes very personally relevant to us. Kind of like Abraham Lincoln's assassination. It doesn't really make any difference to the way I live my lives. And here, I don't have more than one life. I just have one life. We live our lives together, okay? You get the idea. So you just have to laugh out loud, okay? Come on, for real. All right, so here's the deal. So we have this tension that's created because we all know the story, don't we? I mean, it's like Abraham Lincoln's story. You could probably tell the story with historical accuracy, right? You could tell all the right details. It was at the Ford Theater. You could, at least Google or, grab a Wikipedia article and get all the history right. And the same thing's true about our story when it comes to our faith and the story of Jesus, right? And when I say, for unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and when I talk to you about born this day, a Savior who's Christ the Lord, you know the story, right? You know all the history of it. Even if you didn't grow up around church, you could probably rattle off most of the details, right? You could get, okay, there were some shepherds and they were out there and they were keeping their flocks by night, and you could probably get, the cattle were lowing, whatever lowing is, right? And you could probably say, well, there were those three kings and they were from Orient, and then, and then we find out later there really weren't three of them. They weren't kings and they weren't from the Orient, but that's not the issue. But like we get all those things. You could at least from the titles of all the Christmas carols, get that there was going to be joy for the whole world, like everybody gets joy. It's a good deal, right? And there's a little drummer boy involved at some point. I don't really know what he does. But anyways, you get the idea. So like you could probably rattle off all the details of it. And the truth of it is that when we get to this place in our story, it's super easy because we know that Jesus came. And we know that the whole story is played out. And it's really easy to hear the Christmas story and just grab the volume knob and turn it down. In my mind, volume knobs are this big. I don't know why. But like maybe from when I was a kid, but push down the button because we don't have knobs anymore. But you get what I'm saying? Like, it's easy just to go, oh, you know what, I got this one. This is the Jesus story and the thing. And it's really easy to grab the pen and go, I'm going to take some notes, also known as a grocery list, and make this out real quick. It's so easy to do, isn't it? Because we know that Jesus came. And we even have some ideas of why he came. But the question is understanding it at Christmas, that Jesus came for a purpose, and it's all contained in the story that you know so well, right? The story that you could rattle off the details, you could quote the verses, I wouldn't even have to do it. In fact, these are those verses that if I read them in a different translation, it messes with your whole world, right? I read them and you're like, that's not the translation, I know, and it panics all you type A people who need me to say exactly what you heard when you were a kid, and so here's the thing though, let's talk for just a few weeks, not about the fact that Jesus came, not about the information, not about all the stuff that is lended to apathy, but let's talk about why he came, what he was up to, what was his purpose. Because he didn't come just to make this whole thing happen for us, right? He didn't come just to make information for us. He didn't come for us to have a religious holiday. He didn't come for all those reasons. Understand something, he came for a purpose, and it's all contained in this cool story. Luke chapter 2, you know the story. Luke chapter 2, verse 8, that night there were shepherds staying in fields nearby, guarding their flocks of sheep. That's what shepherds do. This is a really obvious sentence, right? I mean, shepherds stay in the fields. That's where the sheep are. They were guarding the sheep. It's nighttime. Now, you got to imagine what's going on. I don't want to relive this every year, but this is so important. They were just doing life like you and I do life. You ever do that stuff? You just kind of go through the motions of it, and you just doing what you do, right? You get up, you go to work, you do your thing. You weren't expecting anything special or spectacular. This isn't a birthday. This isn't an anniversary. It's not a special day. This is just Thursday, just regular old, I don't really know what day it is. But you get what I'm saying. They're just doing life out watching the sheep, out in the thing. Now it's dark outside. That's what happens at nighttime. And so, that's deep, I know. But they're out there watching the sheep and they're just hanging out. But everything is tense to them. Now, you know what I mean? Because they're listening for predators who would make prey out of the sheep. And so they're kind of every little noise that's not the just rustling of leaves kind of makes them jump at attention, this is an aside point, but I love to scare Sheila, okay? Sheila's my wife. Not just when I wake up, when she wakes up and I'm high, that scares her because look at this every day, okay? So, but I love to scare Sheila. She'll go in the kitchen and do something or whatever, and we're going to go to bed, and I'll turn off all the lights and I'll hide behind a corner, And now she has to walk from the kitchen or wherever to the bedroom, and all the lights are off. Now we have Alexa, and she just says, Alexa, my husband's a moron, turn the lights on. And then but so anyways, she's in there, and I like to hide behind the corners, and we just always do this. But you know how it is when you're scared and you're tense, and somebody could jump out at you, and you it's huge, you're just and you freak out. That's what I want. Okay, that's not what I want. I'm just saying. Okay, so, but that's how they're living, every day. This is their night. They're tense every minute, listening for something to happen where there's a lion or some sort of animal or something that would just come and take these things. And he says that this is what happens. And the same, suddenly, I love that word suddenly, because it doesn't mean much to us, but I bet it meant a lot to them. It's dark, it's quiet, there's nothing going on, and all of a sudden, one word, suddenly, the sky opens up, right? And the huge amount of the angel of the Lord. I don't even understand. Okay, so that's crazy. Suddenly, the angel of the Lord appeared among them, and the radiance of the Lord's glory surrounded him. Understatement of the universe. They were terrified, okay? They were thankful that Whitey Tidies had not been invented yet, okay? Like, they filled their drawers. Like, that's what this is going on. So, like, it's not in the Bible, but it says they were terrified, and I know what would happen if I was that scared, okay? So they were really, really scared, right? And then the angel leads with this, but the angel assured them, do not be afraid, okay? So it's like, hey, too late for that, pal. Okay, so you already terrified me. Literally, if you didn't want me to be afraid, you could have knocked. You could have drove up in a Pinto. You could have done anything, but like showing up in the middle of the night with the glory of the Lord around you, it's going to terrify you, okay? So he says this, and this is what's so important. I bring you good news that will bring great joy to all people. Now, how many of you have heard that phrase before? Audience participation, seriously. Good news, great joy, all people, right? Even if you've never been in church before, you've probably heard, I bring you good news, great joy, all people. Do you realize something that's so important for you and I to get today in our real lives is that Jesus came for everyone. Everyone. Jesus came for everyone. Can I be honest with you? The church as a whole, the church across the country, the church around the world sucks at that word. We're terrible at it because we kind of have this tendency to think that the church came for church people, right? Came for people who got all their stuff together or at least talk about it at church like we do, right? We're like the church came for us people. It came for the insiders. It came for the people who behave well. Jesus came for the people. He came to give us good news that'll bring great joy to all the good people, right? That's what we're good at. We're not good at that Jesus came for everyone. And that is so vital to us to get. I mean, this is what the angel leads with. I bring you good news that's going to bring great joy to everyone. Every person should get great joy from this. Man, it's sad that we've turned it into an insider's game, isn't it? Isn't it terrible that we've taken something that should bring great joy to people and made it painful? I mean, my guess is you, like I do, know a lot of people who are like, man, I don't know if I can go back to church because I was hurt this way or this part of my story ended badly and they kicked me out or they did this or man, I made a mistake and they looked down on me, they beat me up, they hurt me. Like just, there's so much pain that's wrapped up in something that was supposed to bring good news that brings great joy to all people. Man, it's terrible, isn't it? That we've reduced, and I say we because we participate in it, right? We have reduced great news, good news that brings great joy to all people, down to what fixes our voting perspective or what fixes our, understand something. This is so important that you get this. And this is going to make you mad, I get it. Jesus is not the reason for the season. Some of you are like, nuts. I got a shirt that says that. I got a bumper sticker that says that. I got coffee cups. I got to get a whole new Christmas wardrobe, right? Like, I got to get a new... Jesus is not the reason for the season. Don't lose sight of this. Jesus didn't come because he was bored, right? He didn't come to earth and he didn't come here to be born in a stable and all the, the iconic story that you know so well. Jesus didn't do all of that because he had nothing else to do. Jesus came, he said it himself, to seek and save the lost. He came to bring life, to bring us life, abundant life, powerful, overcoming life. But the problem is we've reduced him to ridiculous things that don't make any sense. We've made him out to be a political person. He helps us vote the right way. He helps us think the right way. He did not come so that you and I could vote correctly or think correctly or have the right doctrine. He did not come so that you and I could fix everything. He didn't come to claim his rightful place on our stupid Starbucks cups or to save the seals or the rainforest. Jesus came to start a revolution, to redeem people from the brokenness that we live in every single day where it just weighs down on us. And I know you know what that's like. I know you know what that's like. I know what it's like if you don't. I can explain it. It feels like every day is a doldrum. It feels like every day just has weight on it. Like I'm labeled from my yesterdays and my tomorrows don't have any hope. It feels like this kind of weight of stress all the time. God came to heal what was broken. He came to seek and save what was lost, and that applies to every one of us. But the problem is most of us are participating in a tour of a museum about Christmas rather than responding to the call of the revolution. Because understand something. When he came to seek and save the lost, when he came and unto us was born that day a Savior who is Christ the Lord, isn't a cute phrase that goes on a Christmas card. It's marching orders. It's marching orders for you and I to participate in the amazing thing that that's good news, that brings great joy to all people, even people who are skeptical, even people who are hurting, even people whose stories didn't end the way that they wanted them to end. My guess is you're one of those people because I'm one of those people. I look back at my story and I know there are parts of my story that I wish I could change or edit. There are parts of my story that I wish I could do over again. There are parts that I wish we could just forget that happened altogether, just delete them, right? But the truth is that Jesus came to redeem that part of my story. He didn't just come so that we could have a cute holiday or greeting cards and give presents and put up trees. Those are all great things, don't get me wrong. He didn't just come so that we could have, like peppermint mocha, which is yet again another thing that proves the loving benevolence of God. But isn't it the case? Can I get a hashtag? Yes. Okay. So anyways, so he didn't just come so that we could have those cute things. He came so that you and I could be free, every one of us. In fact, the way he says freedom isn't just give your life to him, because we've had that whole thing, right? We've had this part of our story where we hear a message and we're like, do you want to give your life to Jesus? And we raise our hand or we pray a prayer, we do the things that we do to begin a relationship with Jesus. And we know, because most of us were this way, we crossed the line of faith, and that was the very last next step that we took. It was our very last step was I crossed the line of faith. I raised my hand, or I responded to something. I said I wanted to give my life to Christ. I prayed a prayer. I thought about it, but that was really the last time I moved significantly forward with Jesus. And understand something, what he did in setting us free wasn't just the response to a message. What Jesus did in responding to it was set us free by making disciples. That's what's so vital. What's so important is that we understand is that he came to set us free by teaching us to follow him. Matthew chapter 28, such a great thing. We call it the Great Commission. We don't call it the Great Greeting Card for a reason, because he didn't call us to make greeting cards and have cute little religious phrases. He called us to be on mission. And that's what you and I have to understand, is that Jesus is calling you. Matthew 28, he says this in the very closing words, and these are the last words before he takes off, right? I mean, you know how last words are, right? These are a big deal. This is his drop the mic moment. Jesus says, hey, one more thing, he says, therefore go into all the world, all the nation, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, and teach these new disciples to obey the things that I've commanded you, that I've given you, and be sure of this, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. When I was a kid, the translation here is the one I used when I was growing up, and said, and surely I'll be with you always, even until the end of the age. And since I grew up in the Leslie Nielsen world, I would always say, and don't call me Shirley. So, but the truth of it is, this is such a great call. It's so amazing, because we have a tendency to do just that, kind of major on it as something you heard, and you're like, okay, whatever, and it's fun, and yes, I'm glad. But understand something. What Jesus was calling us to was a revolution, where you and I view the Christmas season not as a cute phrase or an idea or something that goes on a greeting card, but we realize that he came for every last one of us, and that it's our marching orders to go and deliver this message, this unbelievable truth, that God wants to set us free from our captivity, even when our captivity is skepticism. My guess is people around you who live every day with the kind of this weight of skepticism and doubt and pain on their shoulders, and this whole idea of Jesus is arm's length for them. My guess is somebody and you've kind of written them off. You're like, oh, I can't reach that person. because they're not into it. It'd be hard to reach them, real hard. Understand something. The very people that Jesus called close to himself, those were the hard to reach people because they weren't expecting, the carpenter's son to show up. They weren't expecting this boy from Nazareth. They weren't expecting this little kid born in a manger in Bethlehem. They weren't expecting anything good to come out of where he came from. In fact, there's this story in the book of John that is so great for us, those of us who have a skeptical friend or a friend who's struggling through something, and you're thinking, I can't reach them. Maybe your husband or your wife or your cousin or a good friend or a guy at work or whatever it is. Maybe you're thinking they're out of reach, but get this story. It's so great because Jesus goes up to this guy named Philip who wasn't looking for Jesus to be who he was. And he walks up, he says this in John chapter 1. The next day, Jesus decided to leave for Galilee, and finding Philip, he said to him, follow me, which is crazy, isn't it? Because he didn't ask him to raise his hand. He didn't ask him to, hey, what would happen if you died tonight? He didn't ask him any of that information. He literally just says, hey, Philip, follow me. And I want you to understand something. This is so important for you if you've made a profession of faith and that was the last step you took or the last couple of steps that you've taken, that Jesus wasn't calling to make converts. He's calling us as followers. He's not calling us to get numbers across a line of faith or numbers into a pool of water. He's calling us to create followers. Go into all the world and make disciples. It's the same thing he calls Philip to. Here he says, come and follow me, Philip. Do what I do. Walk where I walk. Say what I say. Do the things I'm calling you to do. And this is the mission he's calling Philip to. And so Philip's like, okay, I'm compelled. I'm in. I mean, my guess is most of you are like Philip. Jesus called, you're following, you're moving forward. You want to take the next step. You want to move forward. And he found Philip and he said to him, come and follow me. And it says where Philip was from. He's from Bethsaida. It's the same place where Andrew and Peter are from. And so he's kind of got some context for it. And Philip's like, yeah, I get it. I want to be a follower. So Philip follows him. And this is a big deal. Now, you probably are confused about something in your life because most of you at some point or another think that you found Jesus, right? I've got a bumper sticker. My wife won't let me put it on my car. I love it. It says, I found Jesus. He was in my trunk the whole time. I think that's hilarious. She doesn't think it's as funny. But anyways, we've got this. Yes, Narisa gave it to me. So it's the greatest bumper sticker because here's the problem that we get confused about sometimes is we think we found Jesus. Oh, I found Jesus. You didn't find Jesus. Jesus found you. You didn't even look for Jesus. We don't look for Jesus. The Bible tells us that there's nobody who seeks after God, that God is the one who pulls us. God's the one who gives us this, what theologians call prevenient grace that begins to draw us in and compels us. And we begin to go, that has something I want. There's value in this. And we begin to do it. And that's what was going on here with Philip, where Philip is drawn into this whole deal. And Jesus invites him, follow me. And Philip's, like a lot of us, is a follower of Jesus now. He's like, okay, I'm in. But here's where Philip's story departs from our story. Because in the very next verse, Philip experiences something and then goes, I can't just live this out. I can't just contain this. I can't just hold this. Because Jesus found Philip. Now, don't lose track of that. Jesus found Philip, just like Jesus found you. And then when Jesus found Philip, Philip began to realize this isn't something that's just for me. This isn't just for me. This isn't just my story. It's not just my conversion. It's not just my following Jesus. Jesus found Philip, and then Philip moved quickly. Because look at what happens in the next verse. Philip found Nathanael and told him, he's like a cousin, and he goes and finds Nathanael. He says, we found the one that Moses wrote about in the law and about the prophets also wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. He's like, listen, as soon as Jesus found Philip, Philip went and found Nathanael. Jesus found Philip, Philip found Nathanael. Jesus found Philip, Philip found Nathanael. Think with me. Jesus found Philip. Philip found Nathanael. Jesus found Philip. And Philip found Nathanael because found people find people. find people. That's where his story departs from a lot of ours. Because found people today, we park, right? We're like, man, this is so great. I love being a part of a church where I can dress how I want to dress. I love being a part of a church, that plays rock and music. I love being a part of a church that ticks our neighbors off that are half a mile away. I love being a part of a church that is so exciting and loving and caring. And you know what most of us will do? I love being a part of church that welcomes people no matter what their story is like. Like a lot of you, this is your first time here, you don't know this, but I want you to know something about the group of people that you're with today. This group of people isn't a group of people who used to be people like you. We're not people who tolerate people like you, and we're not people who try to fix or change people like you. We're a group of people that are just like you, and most of us in this room love the fact that we are a part of a church that loves people right where they're at. But where the biggest departure in our life comes from Philip's story is that when Jesus found Philip, Philip didn't go, man, I love being a part of an organization that will accept people. What Jesus did, when Jesus found Philip, Philip found Nathanael. When Jesus found Philip, Philip found Nathanael because found people find people. Now that's the question that you have to deal with today. And man, Nathanael's a skeptic. Like you think you've got that friend, that brother, that guy at work, these people over there, whatever. You think you've got those people that are like, oh, well, he's too far out of reach, right? I can't get that guy. There's no way. I can't get that lady. She's never going to come back to church again. Maybe you can't, but I want you to understand something. That God's arms of reaching are far longer than our arms of pushing away. God's arms reaching out for people are far longer than our arms of pushing away from him. So Jesus finds Philip. Philip finds Nathanael and tells him this is what's going on. And Nathanael's response is like, he rolls his eyes. Look at the next verse. It says this, Nazareth, he's like, are you kidding me? Nazareth, what can anything good come from there? Nathanael asked. I mean, he's like, seriously, come on, Nazareth? I mean, nobody good comes from Nazareth, man. I mean, that's what we're backing down to. I mean, what's going on here with the man Jesus who found Philip, and then Philip goes and finds Nathanael. He rewinds all the way back to the story that you and I are living out now, where this little boy, this family from Nazareth, goes to Bethlehem because there's been a census taken, and they give birth to Jesus, and they bring him back to Nazareth. And Nathanael's question is, can anything good come from Nazareth? Now, my guess is your friend, your skeptic friend, and it might not be your friend, it might be you. My guess is your skeptic friend's not asking about Nazareth geographically, right? They're probably saying something like, yeah, but, my story, like, I had an affair and this happened. Can anything good come out of my life? You're probably thinking, man, but, that person's thinking, man, but you don't realize what I've done with these hands, You don't know what I've seen with these eyes. You don't know where these feet have gone. You don't know what my story is. And there's probably a big part of the skepticism of your friend that sits in that place that you think is unreachable, that's simply saying, I'm not redeemable. Nothing good can really come from me, my life. But that's not the truth. So Philip doesn't try to convince him. He doesn't say, oh, yes, there can. Logically speaking, Philip, logically speaking, Nathanael, we've got to go through this. You realize that anyone can come from anywhere in this game. He doesn't try to prove it to him. He doesn't argue with him. He doesn't overbear him with all kinds of stuff, and he doesn't hand him a tract. Sorry, I'm going to get fired up. He doesn't give him his stuff. He just simply says, why don't you do this? Come and see. Seriously, come and check it out yourself. That's a powerful invitation. And if you're probably this person who's got in your mind somebody that popped up that's skeptical, that's far from God, that's struggling in their faith, that's figuring this whole thing out, somebody who's kind of just a step that you feel like, man, I don't know if I can reach them or not. And there's a part of you that the enemy loves to just manipulate and leverage. There's a part of you that goes, yeah, but what if they ask a question I don't know the answer to? Just look at Philip's response, would you? Can you say, come and see? Can you just say, hey, you know what? I tell you what, just join me. I mean, that's really the end result. I mean, really, your next step, and this isn't just some of you. This isn't like just, oh, that's the person behind me, or that's my uncle, or that's my friend. Listen, that's not just the person next to you. Every person in this room, myself included, our next step over the next 4 weeks is 2 simple words: invest and invite. That's exactly what Philip did. Philip leveraged all of the relationship he had with Nathanael and just simply said, come and see. Just come and see. Man, Jesus came for everyone. We have the most compelling story that has ever been told. The angels told the shepherds that day the same thing that they would tell us. This unbelievable news is good news that brings great joy to all people, the skeptics, the broken, the hurting. Jesus came to seek and save the lost. It's our responsibility. It's our marching orders. It's our call to care enough about people to take the risk to simply invest in their life and invite them. So let me just give you this clear next step. And this is the reason we do what we do around here. The reason we care about what Sunday morning feels like, the reason we care about making it as casual and accepting and caring as possible, the reason that we audition singers, to be honest with you, because you've all been in church where somebody got up and they said, the Lord gave me this song, and they started singing, and then you got halfway through the song and you realized, I see why he was giving it away now. Like you get this, right? The reason that we care so much about what happens up here is because we want you to have confidence so that you can go invest in someone's life and invite them to be a part of it, and know that next week it's going to be as good as we can do, because we know that this is good news that brings great joy to all people. And I don't ever want there to be a Sunday, a weekend, a moment in your story at Journey Church where you don't have total confidence that you could bring somebody who's far from God, because this message brings good news that brings great joy to all people. So your next step is really simple. Get a name, and then just say, come and see. I mean, it's Christmas time. Most people will respond. 85% of people will respond positively if you just ask them to join you. It's as simple as you saying, meet me in the parking lot. I'll meet you in the parking lot. I'll be out there. You don't have to walk in alone. Nobody likes to walk into a church building alone. You feel like a turd in a punch bowl, right? Everybody's staring at you. You feel weird. Meet them in the parking lot. Walk them in here. Get them a cup of coffee and sit them down. It's dark. We won't even know they're here. Just relax and have fun. Enjoy it. Just invite them to come and see. You know what I love about Journey Church? Is that as much as we try, there are always empty seats. There's always room for the person that God lays on your heart. So here's the deal. Close your eyes, would you? One more time. It's not an invitation. I'm not going to sing Just As I Am. I just want you to ask God right now, and I promise you, as soon as you say it, he'll put a name on your heart. Who is it that you want me to invite to come and see? You got a name. Your spouse, brother, uncle, friend, your aunt, your niece, somebody at work, the neighbor. And you know that person, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I can. I know what's going on through your head. The enemy's going, oh, I don't know. They'll never darken the doors of a church. They're terrified of it. I know what's going through your head. They don't see it. They're too far. Understand something. God's arms of reaching them are far longer than their arms pushing away. So let me pray for those people, and we'll let us out of here and we'll get to work. So Jesus, we are thankful to you that you came as a baby in a manger, so that you could lay aside the independent use of your deity and become the God who sacrifices his life on the cross for us. We know that that's not something that's about us. It's about you. It's about your goodness. You didn't love us because we were so lovable. You loved us because you're so loving. So, Lord, I just lift these names to you. And I pray that you give us boldness that comes from your Holy Spirit, allows us to speak the truth It allows us to invest and to leverage and to open up opportunity for people to take their next step towards you. Jesus, I just lift these seats to you and just pray that you'd fill them with hearts hungry to hear the reason why you came for us. God, I just ask that you'd use us in your revolution. I ask it in your name. Amen.